This microeconomics video is going to be looking at production possibility frontiers, also known as PPFs. So what are they? Well, the PPF is a curve showing the maximum combination of goods or services that can be produced in a given period with the available resources. So this is what the PPF looks like here, and that curve there is the PPF. And the reason why it's usually curved is because usually the resources aren't equally suited to both the goods. So for example, if you're using, say we've got milk as our PPF, and you need more milk for pancakes than for scones, then you're going to have a curved PPF because it's not equally suited. So each amount don't need the exact same amount. And where it might be curved would be for, say, no, where it might be straight is for a rugby ball and a football production PPF. So that would be straight because the resources are equally suited to both sorts of goods. So looking at a PPF to show economic growth and decline, well, this PPF here, I'm not sure if you can see the top of it, shows economic growth where the PPF extends outwards, and this is because, say we had numbers on here and this is 150 and it moves out here to 270, say, then that's an expansion because it's producing more goods, and of both as well, of both types of goods it's producing more. Whereas this one here shows economic decline because it's producing less goods, which means that the economy has less resources, so it's less productive, and therefore it shows economic decline. And it's also worth noting that this extension of the PPF curve here is called a extension, and this inwards moving PPF is called a contraction. And this might often be an exam question where they say show an extension or show economic growth on the PPF. And what you have to do is label this one here, your original PPF, as PPF1, and then this one here is PPF2, and they often like to have a little arrow just to symbolise that extension. Now moving on to PPF and opportunity cost. So how can we see opportunity cost from a PPF? Well, say we're producing nearly equal amounts of good A and good B, so that's 80 units of good A and 90 units of good B, so that's pretty similar. But then we decide to produce even more of good A, so we produce 120 units of good A, but this then means that with the given resources we can then only produce 30 units of good B. So this opportunity cost here is 90 minus 30, which is 60. But then if we decide actually we want to produce more of good B, so produce 120 units of good B, then we can only produce 30 units of good A. So the opportunity cost here would be 80 minus 30, which is 50. So it's how a change in resources and how this affects the amount of units of goods that can be produced, and that's the opportunity cost, the change in the units of goods produced. And another, I haven't got it down here, but another way that the PPF curve shows opportunity cost is, say this here is capital goods and this here is consumer goods. The more capital goods you produce, the less the opportunity cost, because capital goods can be used for future generations and to produce more consumer goods in the future. So they provide less opportunity costs because it means that you can have even more in the future, whereas consumer goods, they're only able to be used for present use. So capital goods used for future use, consumer goods used for current use. And now looking at the PPF for possible and unobtainable production, and also efficient and inefficient allocation of resources. So the most efficient way to allocate resources is on the PPF, because then you're using all your resources. So if you're using all your resources, that means that they're all employed, so there's no wastage of resources within your economy. And then this here is an inefficient allocation of resources because you're not using all the given resources in the economy. Now our economy, where we will be on our PPF will always be really close, but not actually on it, because it's really difficult to get absolutely everything in the economy working. But we aim to be on the PPF to get the most efficient allocation of resources. And now looking at the possible and unobtainable production, well, this one here is our unobtainable production because it's not on our PPF, which means that yes, we'd love to be over this area here where we've got economic growth, but it currently, with the amount of resources in the economy, is not obtainable. And why does the PPF curve change? And this is quite a common question to be asked. So why it changes is because there might be advances in technology, which mean that you can produce more with your given resources, so that causes an extension of the PPF to over here, so it'll be like this point here. Or if there's a change in resources, so for example, as I've got on another point here, if there's a natural disaster, then your PPF is going to contract because you've got less resources to work with. Although if you suddenly have you find loads of gold or you find loads of oil, then you might have an extension in your PPF because you've got more resources, which means that there's more opportunity for efficient allocation of resources. And also education and training. Well, if you educate if you provide a lot of education, then your PPF can extend because it means that people can be more efficient in their ways of working, which means that they can produce more in a given amount of time, and then this means that your PPF will extend. And likewise, if training goes down and the government don't really do much for the education, then there might be a contraction in the PPF because your workforce become less efficient, which means that within the given time you produce less units of goods, so there's a contraction. And also changes in the amount of labour workforce. Now the UK has got an ageing population, which means that we expect our PPF to contract slightly because the amount of economically active is going to go down. However, we've got lots of migrants coming into the country to help extend our PPF, or at least maintain our PPF, so that we can produce these goods. So changes in the amount of labour workforce also affects the shape of the PPF. Thanks for listening. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Bite Size Economics.